Tax. Tax is the government's claim on everything you earn, buy, own, and pass on. It is not optional. It is not negotiable at the individual level. It arrives before your paycheck does, after your purchase does, annually on your property, and once more when you die if you've accumulated enough. Most people think of tax as one thing. It isn't. Income tax takes a percentage of what you earn. Sales tax adds a percentage to what you buy. Property tax bills you annually for what you own. Capital gains tax charges you when your investments grow and you sell them. Payroll tax funds Social Security and Medicare before you ever see your check. Every government in the world collects taxes because governments cannot function without revenue. Roads, hospitals, schools, military, courts. None of it runs on goodwill. The argument is never really about whether taxes should exist. It's always about how much, from whom, and for what. What matters for your financial life is understanding which taxes apply to you, when they hit, and how the structure of each one affects the decisions you make about earning, spending, saving, and investing. Banks. A bank is not a safe. Most people treat it like a place to store money that keeps it from getting stolen. That's not what a bank does. A bank takes your deposit, lends most of it to someone else, and charges that person more in interest than it pays you. The difference between what it charges borrowers and what it pays depositors is how the bank makes money. When you deposit $1,000, the bank keeps roughly $100 in reserve and lends $900 to someone else. That $900 gets deposited somewhere else, and that bank lends $810 of it. The same dollar multiplies through the system. This is called fractional reserve banking. Your money is not sitting in a vault with your name on it. It's moving. The protection is deposit insurance. In the U.S., the FDIC insures deposits up to $250,000 per account. If the bank fails, your money is still there. Banks also set the terms of credit. They decide who can borrow, at what rate, and under what conditions. Your relationship with banks, your credit history, your account behavior, determines the financial options available to you throughout your entire adult life. Understanding banks means understanding that they are not neutral custodians. They are profit-seeking businesses using your money to make more money. Interest. Interest is the price of borrowing money. When you borrow, you pay interest. When you lend, including when you deposit money in a bank, you receive interest. The rate determines how expensive the borrowing is or how rewarding the lending is. Simple interest calculates the fee on the original amount only. Compound interest calculates the fee on the original amount plus all the interest already accumulated. That distinction changes everything. $10,000 at 10% simple interest for 10 years produces $10,000 in interest. The same $10,000 at 10% compound interest for 10 years produces $15,937 in interest, more than 50% more. Compound interest is the most powerful force in personal finance. It works for you when you invest. Your returns generate their own returns. It works against you when you borrow. Your unpaid interest generates more interest. A credit card balance at 24% compounding daily grows faster than most people's ability to pay it down. Time is the multiplier. Start compounding early, and you use time to build wealth. Delay compounding, and you use time to build debt. The rate matters. The time matters. But the direction, whether compounding is working for you or against you, is the most important question in your financial life. Credit score. A credit score is a 3-digit number that determines how expensive money is for you. Lenders use it to decide whether to lend to you at all and at what rate. The higher your score, the lower your rate. A person with a 760 credit score might get a mortgage at 6.5%. The same mortgage for a person with a 620 score might cost 8.5%. On a $300,000 loan over 30 years, that 2% difference costs over $140,000 more. Your credit score is calculated from 5 factors. Payment history is the most important. Paying on time matters more than anything else. Credit utilization is second. How much of your available credit you're using. Lower is better. Length of credit history rewards people who've had accounts open for a long time. Credit mix rewards having different types of credit. New credit penalizes you for applying for too much at once. The score range is typically 300 to 850. Below 580 is poor. 670 to 739 is good. Above 800 is excellent. The score can be improved. The most powerful moves are simple. Pay on time, keep balances low, don't open new accounts unnecessarily. Your credit score is not a judgment of your worth as a person. It's a number that determines the cost of money for you, and that cost compounds over a lifetime. Inflation. Inflation is the gradual loss of purchasing power. A dollar today buys less than a dollar bought 5 years ago. A dollar today will buy less than a dollar buys 5 years from now. The mechanism is that as the money supply grows faster than the goods and services available, each unit of money buys a smaller share of what exists. A 3% annual inflation rate means something that costs $100 today costs $103 next year, $106.09 the year after, and $134 in 10 years. Inflation is always happening at some rate. Moderate inflation, around 2%, is actually the target of most central banks. It encourages spending and investment because holding cash means losing value. Deflation, falling prices, is actually more dangerous because it encourages people to delay spending, which collapses demand, which destroys jobs. The danger of inflation is when it exceeds wage growth. If prices rise 8% and your salary rises 3%, you are effectively earning less money than last year despite the raise. Inflation is why keeping large amounts of cash in a savings account earning 0.5%, while inflation runs at 4%, is a guaranteed way to get poorer while doing nothing. The goal is to ensure your money grows at a rate that outpaces inflation, in investments, in assets, in income. Inflation is silent, consistent, and permanent. Net worth. Net worth is the single most honest number in your financial life. It is assets minus liabilities. Everything you own minus everything you owe. A house worth $400,000 with a $280,000 mortgage contributes $120,000 to your net worth. A car worth $15,000 with an $18,000 loan subtracts $3,000 from your net worth. A retirement account with $60,000 in it contributes $60,000. A credit card balance of $8,000 subtracts $8,000. Add everything positive. Subtract everything negative. The number that remains is your net worth. Most people never calculate it. They track income instead. Income is what flows in every month. Net worth is what accumulates over time. A person earning $200,000 a year who spends $210,000 has a declining net worth. A person earning $60,000 who spends $50,000 has a growing net worth. The earner looks richer. The saver is richer. Tracking net worth monthly changes how you see financial decisions. A new car purchase stops looking like a monthly payment and starts looking like what it is, a reduction in net worth. An investment stops looking like money leaving your account and starts looking like what it is, a transfer from cash assets to investment assets with no change in net worth. Measure net worth, not income. Build net worth, not lifestyle. Supply and demand. Supply and demand is the engine beneath every price you encounter. When demand for something rises and supply stays the same, prices rise. When supply increases and demand stays the same, prices fall. When both move together, the effect depends on which moves more. Housing prices rise when more people want homes than there are homes available. Gas prices spike when refineries go offline and supply contracts while demand holds steady. Salaries in software engineering rose dramatically over the last decade because demand for that skill grew faster than the supply of people who had it. Every market, labor, housing, goods, investments, operates on this same mechanism. Understanding supply and demand makes financial news legible. When the Fed raises interest rates, it's making borrowing more expensive to reduce demand for credit. When a company reports fewer widgets produced than expected, the price rises because the supply fell short of what the market anticipated. The price of anything is not set by what it costs to make. It is set by what someone is willing to pay for it relative to how much of it exists. This is why diamonds are expensive, not because they cost a lot to mine, but because supply is controlled and demand is high. This is why your skill is valuable, or isn't, based entirely on how many people need it and how few people have it. Investing. Investing is putting money to work, so it produces more money without requiring your direct labor every time. You buy an asset, a stock, a property, a bond, a business, and that asset either grows in value, generates income, or both. The alternative to investing is holding cash, which inflation erodes every year. The core principle is that money has a time value. A dollar today is worth more than a dollar in 10 years because a dollar today can be invested and grow. Investing is not gambling when done correctly. Gambling creates risk for entertainment where no risk existed before. Investing accepts existing risk in exchange for expected return. The stock market has returned roughly 10% annually on average over long periods, not every year, not in a straight line, but across decades. Index funds capture this return by owning a slice of everything rather than betting on individual winners. Real estate builds wealth through leverage, small down payments controlling large assets. The two most common investment investing mistakes are waiting too long to start and selling when markets fall. Time in the market matters more than timing the market. A person who invested $200 a month starting at 22 will have significantly more at 65 than a person who invested $500 a month starting at 40, despite investing far less money. The variable that cannot be recovered is time. Liquidity. Liquidity is how quickly and easily an asset can be converted into cash without losing significant value. Cash is perfectly liquid. It is already cash. A publicly traded stock is highly liquid. You can sell it in seconds during market hours. A house is illiquid. Selling takes weeks or months, involves significant fees, and the price you get depends on market conditions at the time you must sell. Liquidity matters because life is unpredictable. An emergency fund needs to be liquid. You cannot sell your house in 48 hours when your car breaks down and your rent is due. The liquidity trap catches people who have wealth on paper but no accessible cash. A real estate investor with $2 million in property and $200 in a checking account is technically wealthy and practically strapped. Liquidity has a cost. Highly liquid assets typically generate lower returns. A savings account earns less than real estate. Illiquid assets command a premium. They pay more because they demand more commitment. The skill is maintaining enough liquidity to handle emergencies and short-term needs while keeping most of your wealth in higher returning illiquid assets. Rule of thumb: 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash or near cash. Everything else can be deployed for growth. Never let the pursuit of return leave you unable to survive a crisis. Diversification. Diversification is the only free lunch in investing. Every other financial advantage comes with a cost. Higher return demands higher risk. Higher liquidity demands lower yield. Lower fees demand more research. But diversification reduces risk without reducing expected return. It works because different assets don't move together. When stocks fall, bonds often rise. When domestic markets struggle, international markets may thrive. When growth stocks collapse, dividend stocks may hold. Owning all of them means the catastrophic failure of any one doesn't destroy the whole. The opposite of diversification is concentration. Concentration produces the biggest winners and the biggest losers. Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg concentrated everything in one company and became the wealthiest people on earth. Thousands of other founders concentrated everything in one company and lost everything. Concentration is the path to extraordinary wealth and the path to financial ruin, often simultaneously, depending on which company you picked. For ordinary investors, diversification is the rational strategy. Own many asset classes. Own many geographies. Own many sectors. Rebalance periodically to maintain the allocation. The goal isn't to maximize the return of your best investment. It's to ensure the failure of your worst investment cannot end the game. Diversification doesn't guarantee gains. It guarantees that one mistake doesn't cost you everything.